أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطيع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. With the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. The praise is due to Allah. The praise is due to Allah, the Lord of all the worlds. We praise Him, Allah. We glorify Him. We beseech His assistance. We ask for His forgiveness. And we seek refuge with Allah from the mischief of our own hearts and from any evil that follows. Whomsoever Allah guides, that person is guided aright. And whomsoever He leaves without guidance, there are none who can guide them. We give open and sound testimony, without hesitation, without reservation or embarrassment, that there is nothing worthy to be worshipped except Allah. And we give open and sound testimony that Muhammad, to whom the Quran was revealed, is His last messenger. The seal upon all of the prophets, upon all of them be the peace. Upon Muhammad's family, upon his companions, upon all who call into this way of righteousness and to the day of judgment be the peace. Ameen. Dear Muslims, we begin as always by reminding you, as well as reminding our own selves, to have taqwa, to be conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a manner that's most befitting unto Him. And Allah, He instructs us in the Quran in a number of places, and from among them He says, as it is translated, O ye who believe, fear Allah with what is His right, and don't die except in peaceful submission to the will of Allah. And He reminds us further, O mankind, reverence your guardian Lord who created you from one soul. And from that soul He created its mate, and from its mate He produced countless seeds of men and women. Reverence Allah, from whom you demand your mutual rights, and never cut off the family ties. And know that Allah is always a watcher over you. And finally, as Allah reminds us, O you who believe, fear Allah, and whenever you speak, speak direct and to the point, that Allah may adjust your conduct for you, make it wholesome and sound, and forgive you your sins. And know that whomsoever obeys Allah and obeys His messenger, they have already attained the highest achievement in life without doubt. As to what follows, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He reminds us in the Quran, وَإِذْ نَجَّيْنَاكُمْ مِنْ آلِ فِرْعَوْنَ يَصُومُونَكُمْ سُوءَ الْعَذَابِ يذبحون أبناءكم ويستحيون نساءكم وفي ذلكم بلاء من ربكم عظيم. Allah reminds us in the Quran, in another verse, يا بني إسرائيل اذكروا نعمتي التي أنعمت عليكم وأوفوا بأهدي أوف بأهدكم وإياي فارهبون. And Allah, He also reminds us in the Quran, يا بني إسرائيل اذكروا نعمتي التي أنعمت عليكم وأني فضلتكم على العالمين. Allah reminds us further in the Quran, وإذ قلتم يا موسى لن نؤمن لك حتى نرى الله جهرا فأخذتكم الصاعقة وأنتم تنظرون. He also reminds us وإذ قلتم يا موسى لن نصبر على طعام واحد فادع لنا ربك يخرج لنا مما تنبت الأرض من بقلها وقثائها وفومها وعدسها وبصلها قال أتستبدلون الذي هو أدنى بالذي هو خير. Further, Allah reminds us in the Quran, وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِقَوْمِهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُكُمْ أَن تَذْبَحُوا بَقَرَةً قالوا أتتخذنا هزوا قال أعوذ بالله أن أكون من الجاهلين قالوا ادع لنا ربك يبين لنا ما هي قال إنه يقول إنها بقرة لا فارض ولا بكر عوان بين ذلك فافعلوا ما تؤمرون قالوا ادع لنا ربك يبين لنا ما لونها قال إنه يقول إنها بقرة صفراء فاقع لونها تسر الناظرين. Allah gives us in the Quran a number of verses. From among them, we begin with, and when we rescued you from the people of Pharaoh, who were doing horrendous things to you. They were killing your sons, and they were letting your daughters live. And in that was a tremendous test for you. And then Allah, He reminds us, O children of Israel, call to mind the special favor which I bestowed upon you, and fulfill your covenant with me as I fulfill my covenant with you, and fear none but me. And Allah, He reminds us, children of Israel, call to mind the special favor which I bestowed upon you, and that I preferred you to all of the other nations. And then Allah, He reminds us, and remember you said, O Moses, we shall never believe in thee until we see Allah publicly. But you were dazed with thunder and lightning even as you looked on. And Allah, He reminds us, and remember you said, O Moses, we cannot endure one type of food, so beseech, make dua to your Lord for us to produce for us what the earth grows from among the pot herbs and the cucumbers and the garlic and the lentil and the onions. He said, will you exchange the better for the worse? Go you down into any town and you shall find what you want. And then Allah, He reminds us, He continues, and remember Moses said to his people, Allah commanded you to sacrifice a calf. They said, makest thou a laughing stock of us? He said, Allah save me from being among the ignorant ones. They said, beseech on our behalf, make dua to thy Lord to make plain to us what calf it is. He says, the calf should be, or the cow should be neither too old nor too young, but of middle age. Now do what you are commanded. They said, beseech on our behalf thy Lord, make dua to him to make plain to us his color. He said, a fawn-colored heifer, pure and rich in tone, the admiration of the beholder. Our Prophet ﷺ, he said, on the authority of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, that the Prophet ﷺ said, you will tread the same path as was trodden by those before you, inch by inch, and step by step, so much so that if they entered into the lizard's hole, you would follow them also. We said, Allah's messenger, do you mean the Jews and the Christians? Those before you. He said, who else? It's interesting that Hudayfa, one of the Sahaba, he said about this, when the Muslims begin to reference Bani Israel, the people of Ahl al-Kitab, the people of the book, the people of the Torah, and the people of the Injil, when they start to reference them in the Quran, they would always refer to them as the cursed group. And he said something that mentioned the fact that they were your cousins. And you should be grateful for the lessons that should be derived from the Quran. Not just as an admonishment to them, or an admonishment about their conduct or a reminder about their conduct and their character, but rather a reminder for you and I not to fall into the same tracks, not to follow the same steps, not to make the same mistakes. When we mention the verses in the Quran about Bani Israel, it's easy for us to say, look at them. Look at the Yahud and look at the Nasara and look at the mistakes they made and look at how they were cursed and look at how they killed their messengers and look at how they disobeyed their messengers and look at how they were disobedient to their book. Look at how they changed their book. Look at how they changed the words. Look at how they disobeyed Allah. It's easy for us to look, and when we hear Bani Israel, we think about them. But the wise, they said, when you hear about them, think about your own self. Uzkuru ni'matallahi alaykum. Remember the favors that Allah bestowed upon you. When we think about Bani Israel, it's easy for us because they were favored. They were blessed. Allah saved them and rescued them, and you really have to take into consideration how it was done. The miraculous manner in which it took place, in order to understand the level of ingratitude. When you look at how Allah saved them and how He rescued them, you see that He caused their enemy to drown, that He caused the sea to be split so that they can walk across to the other side. But that wasn't the beginning of their disobedience. You know, in every step of the way, every time Allah favored them, every time Allah introduced to them some of His mercy, some of His bounty, some of His goodness, they still turned back. You know, they were exposed, they were witnesses to 9 clear signs, miraculous signs. And they turned away. They still became disobedient. Musa alayhi salam defeated the magicians of that era. And when we think about this, some of the scholars, they say you can put this into several categories. When you think about the story of Musa alayhi salam, Musa in Bani Israel, they said one of the things that you should take into consideration is that the stories are divided into Musa and his struggle with Fir'aun, and Musa and his struggle with Bani Israel. Musa and his struggle with the tyrant of the world, of the greatest transgressor, and all of his hosts. And they say when you divide it into the struggle of Musa and Fir'aun, then you have to think about Haman and Qarun, you know, and what they symbolize. Musa as a tyrant and Qarun as this wealthy individual and Haman as a magician, you know, and how they manipulated the society that they were in order to keep them underneath their feet. And so we talked about Qarun, we talked about Haman, and we talked about Fir'aun. And then we talked about Musa alayhi salam over the last few weeks and how Allah, He commanded him, idhab Fir'aun. Go to Pharaoh. Go to him, speaking truth to power. So we've talked about those two dynamics. But the dynamic that we have to talk about today is the Bani Israel. Because we are them. Don't think that you're not them. Don't think that your story doesn't parallel them. That's why they're mentioned the most in the Quran. That's why Musa alayhi salam is mentioned more in the Quran than any other prophet. Their stories are mentioned the most in the Quran because you are at risk. We're at risk of following their way, one step after another. And the very first place that we begin to do it is in our ingratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He rescued us. And each one of us, we have our own individual story of being saved. Each one of us have our own individual story of Allah rescuing us and saving us from shirk, saving us from polytheism, saving us from worshiping something other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, saving us from the ills of the society, saving us from drugs, saving us from alcohol, saving us from gambling, saving us from promiscuous behavior. Each one of us, we have a story where we started with, some of us, we started with Islam and then we started to leave our Islam. And then Allah brought us back. We meet enough people who come here to the Masjid. Their families were Muslim. They got centuries of Muslims in their family. And they say, I haven't entered into the masjid. This is my first time in the masjid in 10 years. In 20 years, we heard a story of one of our teachers. He mentioned an individual who came to the haram, to the masjid in the Kaaba, and prayed there. And when he came in there, he started to cry so much. And they said, why are you crying so much? He said, I live directly across, and this is my first time coming in 20 years. Allah, He saved and rescued all of us. We all have our story of how we were brought from the brink, from decadence, from destruction, from bad thinking, from un-Islamic behavior. Allah, He's the one who rescued us. And Allah, He says to Bani Israel, He says, "Uzkuru ni'matallahi." And He's commanding, He's saying, look, remember them favors. Remember the favors that I bestowed upon you. I saved you. Often Allah uses the command when He's referring to them. He's saying, remember, bring to mind my blessings, my bounty, my gifts, the provisions we shaded you through the clouds, the food that was sent from the heavens, the miracles you witnessed, the signs. Bring all of this to mind. The parting of the sea, the drowning of your enemy. Bring all of this to mind. And each one of us, we have to do that. That's the beauty of this religion, the beauty of Quran. It has to be a living book. We have to be able to see ourselves in its stories, in the life of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we also find that our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he did the same thing. He had to sometimes remind. And we find in the Battle of Hunayn in particular, when the Muslims, they had large numbers. And they thought they were going to be victorious because of their large numbers. And the enemies, they waited beneath the burning sand. They buried themselves beneath the sand. And when the Muslims marched on them, they started to come up and strike the heads of the Muslims and kill them. The Muslims turned and started running. And the Prophet's uncle, may Allah be pleased with him, he's the one who said, remember the favors. Remember the bounty. Remember the blessings. Why is this relevant? Why is it important today? Because here, right now, we are negligent and we are forgetting the bounties. We're enjoying the good things of this life and we're forgetting how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's the giver. He's the bestower of blessings and bounties, and He's the one who's rewarded us. He's the one who saved us. Some of us, we came here as refugees. Some of us came here looking for a better life. We came here fleeing tyrants in our own land. And Allah, He saved you and caused masjids to be erected in this land. It says as many as 2,000 of them here. How grateful are we? It's not in speech. It's not in saying, Alhamdulillah, I'm thankful, but it's in action. If Allah saved you and you know it and you're grateful to it, then you want other people to experience it. Then you will desire it for other people. But Bani Israel, they were a unique group of people. Because every time Allah showed them a favor, they showed their disregard for it. They said, we'll never believe unless Allah come down and speak to us publicly. They said, no, we won't believe. We're not going to be content. We're not going to be patient with the same kind of food. One of our teachers, he said, that's like the individual who's been incarcerated, who said, give me the food of prison. I prefer that. Or the people from whose ancestors were slaves saying, give me the food of the slaves. I'm not happy with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to me. I'm not happy with what He's ordained for me. I'm not happy with His orders and with His commands and with His mercy and with His bounty and with His blessings. I'm not happy with that. Give me the stuff from the past. And they kept saying, I want to go back. Even as they approached the sea, they still questioning Musa alayhi salam and still questioning of Allah. Can He really save us? Maybe we should go back. And they didn't stop there. Even after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused really the greatest miracle for them to witness, this this destruction of this tyrant in the way that Allah destroyed him, and him calling out and making the declaration of faith, even while they're witnessing that, when they got over to the promised land, they still said, we won't go in. Jabbarin. In there's giants. We won't go there. Because in that land, there are giants. We can't defeat them. We can't conquer them. Why don't you and your Lord go? Still, in each conversation, they're saying, make dua to your Lord. Beseech your Lord. Why don't you and your Lord go? And we're at risk of acting in that same way, even though we won't ever verbalize it. We won't ever say that. But when Muslims are on the front line, raising the banner of La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah in halal and permissible ways, we stay at home. When they're doing da'wah, we stay at home. When they're protesting, we stay at home. When they're teaching in the masajids, we stay at home. When the Quran is being recited, we find something else to do. When the Prophet ﷺ's hadith are being mentioned, we join other conversations and we abandon that gathering in that circle. Each step of the way, we're saying, I'm not grateful, I'm not appreciative. Why don't you go? You and your Lord go. One of our teachers, he referred to this as not just an inferiority complex, but he referred to it as a certain type of psychosis, a defeatist mentality. Because it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who saved and rescued all of us. We should be grateful to Him. يا قوم ادخلوا الأرض المقدسة التي كتب الله لكم ولا ترتدوا على أدباركم فتنقلبوا خاسرين قالوا يا موسى إن فيها قوما جبارين وإنا لن ندخلها حتى يخرجوا منها فإن يخرجوا منها فإنا داخلون. O my people, enter the holy land which Allah has assigned to you, and turn not back, for then you will be overthrown to your own ruin. They said, Moses, O Moses, in this land are people of exceeding strength. They're giants there. Never shall we enter until they leave. If once they leave, then we shall enter. This is the mindset. Allah, He's given us an opportunity to spread this deen, to take the religion to the people. And we are intimidated by the Donald Trumps of the world. You have to look at and admire our brother Khutba Khan. You know, the bold statement that he made at the Democratic Convention. You know, challenging Donald Trump and reminding him, I see you and you're just a tyrant. And like most tyrants, they're bullies. And like most bullies, they're cowards. You're just a bully. Our job, Bani Israel, the community of Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, our job is to take this message to the people. And not to be afraid. Not to be scared of what they say, and not to be worried about what may happen at the next election. Not to be paralyzed to the degree that we don't work, that we don't carry the message, that we don't promote the religion, that we don't join good, wholesome, healthy, halal causes. Go to Pharaoh. Idhab ila Fir'aun innahu tagha. Go to Pharaoh. Indeed, he's transgressed all bounds. But they say the only way that we can accomplish this, dear brothers and sisters, is to first purify your own self. Clean your own heart. Make yourself ready for this work. Allah, when He began the message to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when He began the revelation after Iqra, then look at the chronological order of the surahs. Look at how He started to prepare him. Get up in the night for tahajjud. Start getting up and calling on Allah in the middle of the night, preparing yourself, purifying yourself, gaining strength so that you can take this message. If you're not here to advance the cause of Islam, why are you here? Everybody, why are you here? Why, if you're not here to promote the cause of Islam, which is a liberator from financial tyranny and oppression, a liberator from social tyranny and oppression, a liberator from this capitalist system and from consumerism that has destroyed our young people. If you're not here to advance this cause, why? So we pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us and guide us and have mercy upon us. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Dear Muslims, Alhamdulillah, just in closing, I want to mention something that we mentioned last week that, if it confused anybody, it's not my intent. And what we mentioned is something that I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about Muslims who have forgotten to raise their hands or to beseech Allah and make dua to Him. It's not that I think that you have to raise your hands. It's not that I think that you have to make dua in a visual manner. But what you should be doing is always making dua. And you should always be supplicating Allah in whatever form that you find most acceptable and excellent. If it's in sajda, then make it then. If it's in tahajjud, then make it then. If it's between the two adhans, between the iqama and the adhan, then make it then. If it's when you break fast, then make it then. If it's on Yawmul Jumu'ah, because this is the day that the Prophet ﷺ said there's an hour on this day that any dua that you make is mustajab, that Allah will answer it, make it then. So we're not saying that I have to see everybody raise their hands. But we should be always making supplication to Allah. You should always be making dua, and don't forget to. And don't think that I prayed my 5 prayers and that's enough. Raise your awareness and your consciousness of the importance to turn to the one who created everything. And ask Him when you have problems, when there are problems at home, when there are problems with the children, when there are problems on the job, when there are problems in the community, when there are problems under these oppressive rulers, when you're witnessing the oppression and the destruction of people in any land, don't forget to ask Allah to alleviate that burden. Don't forget to talk to your Lord. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ رَبَّنَا لَا تُزِغْ قُلُوبَنَا بَعْدَ إِذْ هَدَيْتَنَا وَهَبْ لَنَا مِن لَّدُنكَ رَحْمَةً إِنَّكَ أَنتَ الْوَهَّابُ. Our Lord, guide us among those you've guided aright. Preserve us from amongst those you've preserved. Take us for friends from amongst those you've taken for friends. Bless us in that which Thou hast bestowed upon us. Protect us from the evil of that which Thou hast ordained. For the holy is Thou who ordains, and none ordains against Thee. Indeed, never is Thee obeys whom Thou takest for a friend. My Lord, blessed and exalted art Thou. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم وأقيموا الصلاة.